I wanted to make sure that we did it again just to kind of make sure we understand what is going on. And what I also want to point out is take a look at what happens. Let's just look at A to C. A to C, and then C to D. From A to C, that's 2/3. From C to B, that's 1/3. Do we see how it divides it? 2/3 and then 1/3. Same thing from A to D versus D to B. From A to D, what fraction of the whole is that? It's not 1/3 anymore, because remember our ratio, 2 to 3, what was that fraction again? Yeah, it's 2/5. So this is 2/5, and this is 3/5. Okay, so what we just did is we literally subdivided, we kind of cut that line segment into different portions based on the fractions that they were telling us to use. So we're going to do this again with different numbers. So let's take a look at the next example. It's pretty much the same exact thing, just with different numbers. So I want you guys to take a look at it, and let's go ahead and do it together again. So first thing, I'm going to place a dot on the 12. Ooh, this thunder is crazy. Okay, we're going to place a dot on the 12. This is point A. Then I put my other point at 44, point B. Okay, so now I'm going to place a dot on the number line that is 3/4 of the distance, 3/4 of the distance from A to B. Okay, what is the distance from A to B? 32. So we got to figure out what is 3/4 of 32. 3/4 times 32. What do we get? Tyrone, you missed, we did the same problem with different numbers, so we're just kind of doing two very similar problems right now. So you missed the first one, but this is very similar. All right, good, Jalen. 3/4 times 32 gives me 24. Am I just putting a dot right here on 24? No, good. We're going to add it. Add it to A. So 12 plus 24. What does it get me? 12 plus 24 is 36. So that is where point C goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now last one, place a dot on the number line that divides the distance between point A and point B in a ratio of 1 to 3. So I want you guys to figure it out on your own. If that's the ratio, on what number am I putting down point D? Yeah, tell me on what number on the number line, where am I physically putting point D? Okay, send me your answers privately if you're not sure about them, and then we'll talk about it together. Okay, if you have any final answers, send it to me privately. And then, okay. All right. If you know you got it correct, go ahead and say it on public now. And then we'll talk about why it's correct. Good, nice. So it is on the 20. Nice job, Janelle's. Nice job, Tyrone. Let's talk about why that's true. So this time, my ratio is 1 to 3. So what's the fraction that that turns into? What fraction is that? Good, 1/4. 1 out of 4. Because the total is 4. 1 plus 3, 4. So what's 1/4 times 32? That gives me 8. So 8 is the distance, but I got to start at 12. So 12 plus 8. That's how we get 30. Or 20, I mean. So right here is D. All right, guys, what do we think? Any questions? Questions on this one? On how this works? How, like, the process to be able to do it? Because we're going to kick it up a notch in just a moment. Okay, that's all right. Oh, you did from A to C. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. All right, I'm glad you understand though. All right, cool. So this is a number line. Number line basically is just what I would call like a one dimension, like it's just one dimension, but we know that there can also be a graph. So in this case, I've got an x-axis as well as a y-axis, and we're going to be able to do the same thing on a line that's not flat. Now, it's a process, so we're going to take it real slow, couple times, do it completely together from start to finish, and we're basically doing this for the whole rest of the period. So we're going to do this a lot of times until, trust me guys, by the end of this class, you're going to have no problems with it. But it is a multi-step process, so I need you guys to really make sure that you're understanding it each along the way, writing down your notes, and doing what you can to make it make sense. So here we go. This is telling me I'm going to make a line segment from A to B, and it's going to be subdivided using the ratio of 1 to 2. So that's my ratio, 1 to 2. So first, I'm just going to plot A and B into my graph. So -4, 4, there's A, and 2, 1, there's B. So there's my line segment. And like I said, I'm trying to subdivide it with a ratio of 1 to 2. Now remind me, if my ratio is 1 to 2, what is my fraction? Good, 1/3. 1/3 of the distance. Okay, but here's the issue, is that since I have a diagonal line, I can't just count the distance from A to B. So we're going to use a different strategy. So here's what's going to happen. like it says below, it says graph the line segment, and it's called a directed line segment. That's just because it's diagonal, right? It has a direction, it's not flat. So graph the directed line segment, find the rise and the run of the directed line segment. Okay, we can do that. Let's figure it out. Let's break it down, figure out what is the rise and what is the run. Go ahead, you can use, just count the squares, count the boxes. Good, the rise is 3. And the run is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Count again. 6. Good. So my rise is 3. My run is 6. Technically though, Perla, technically the rise is -3. So I'm just going to put that in there as well, since it's going down. Okay, so far, nothing too difficult. We know how to do this. Now, the thing is, I'm not going to write it as a fraction. I'm not going to turn it into a slope. I'm just going to write down my rise as a number and my run. Just keep them separate. So we're not going to make it a fraction. We're not going to simplify it. And I'll explain why in a moment. Okay, next thing. Point P is, we already kind of did this before. Point P is 1/3 of the distance from point A to point B. We know that because the ratio is 1 to 2. So when we turn that into a fraction, it's 1/3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what is 1/3 of the run. So 1/3 of 6. And then also what's 1/3 of the rise. That should say rise. So what's 1/3 times -3? So go ahead and do that quick calculation. What is 1/3 times 6? Good, 2. What is 1/3 times 3? Times -3. Good, -1. It's okay, Jalen, I think you divided it by 3, but 1/3 times 3, that just cancels out. So we end up with 1. -1 in this case. Okay. So far, not too bad. So first thing, step 1, find the rise, find the run. Step 2, find 1/3 of the rise, find 1/3 of the run. Then, let's read what it says down here. To find the coordinates of point P, add the values from step 3 to the coordinates of point A. So we started with point A was where? Point A was at -4, 4. We have the x value and the y value, x and y. When you do rise over run, which of those is the y values? Is it the rise or is it the run? Good.
Rise. I already say like multiple times, but I was not
Muted.
I was on mute.
That's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. So the rise is the y values. The run is the x values. So what we're going to do is, what number should I be adding to my x values? Should I be adding 2 or should I be adding -1?
I think from the run, because that's
From
the one that goes in the x-axis.
Good, the run. So right here, we're going to add this. Oops. We're going to add this to the x value of a, and then the other number, we're going to add that to the y value. So my x value was -4, so -4 plus 2, what does that give me? -4 plus 2. Good, that's -2. And then the y coordinate is 4, so 4 plus -1. What does that give me? That's 5, good. So the coordinates of my new point, point P, are -2, comma 5. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in on my line, -2. Oh wait, sorry. This is not 5, guys, my bad. -1, so 4 minus 1. 4 minus 1. That's okay. It's 3. So it's 2, comma 3. -2, comma 3. So here we go, -2, comma 1, 2, 3. There's point P. So we found the place where it divides A to B by a ratio of 1. There's the 1, 1 to 2. There is my subdivided segment. So it definitely takes, it takes a lot longer because this line segment is not flat. It is on a diagonal. However, okay, we're not doing any difficult math. It's just that it becomes a pretty, like, the process is kind of a little bit, takes a while, and we have to practice doing it over and over again. But do I have any questions on where any of these numbers came from or anything like that? All right, let's do a few more. I'm gonna have fewer things on the screen because at this point, we're gonna kind of like try to memorize the steps instead of reading them off of the screen. So let's go ahead. So first of all, I'm gonna graph A and B. So -6. Oh, this graph doesn't have enough. Oops. It's okay, I'll add one more. So -6, comma 5. Okay, there it is, there's A. And then 2, comma -3. Okay, there's my line segment, A and B. And now I have to figure out how to subdivide this at a ratio of 5 to 3. 5 to 3, what fraction is that going to be? Good, 5 out of 8, good. So 5/8 of the distance. Okay. 5/8 of the distance, okay. So now let's go ahead, and again, we're going to find the rise, find the run, and we're going to go from there. Go ahead and calculate it. Go ahead and count it. What is the rise? What is the run? The rise is 10. 10. Let's see, 5. Not 10. Count again. 8. Good. So my rise is 8. What's my run? 8 as well. I think that's right. Yeah, 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. Yes, 6. You gotta count really, really carefully, Tyrone. Just make sure you don't, when you're counting, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So don't count the first one. Go from the first one to the second one. Okay, so now I have to multiply each of these numbers times 5 over 8. So go ahead and calculate that. What is 8 times 5 over 8? What is 6 times 5 over 8? Wait, 6 is, why did I write 6, y'all? You guys let me write down so many mistakes in this class. It's also 8. Okay, so what do I get? 8 times 5 over 8? We get 5. By the way, do you have to really do all that math, Perla? You did 5 times 8 is 40. 40 divided by 8 is 5. But what can you just do? What can you just look and see what cancels out? And that's fine, I understand that, but after a while we can start to notice these patterns, okay? Because notice the 8s cancel out. So once those 8s cancel, I'm just left with 5. So I know going the long way, a lot of times you just want to do that to be sure, but that's okay. So we end up with 5 for both of them. What am I adding for the rise? I know they're the same number, but for the rise, what do we add this to? Do I add it to the x value or to the y value? Good. So the rise gets added to the y value, the run gets added to the x value. So a was at -6, 5. Okay, so, ooh, yes, Emily, can you just put that question in public for a moment, real quick? Emily said noticed something very important. Yeah, the rise should be -8. I'm sorry. I'm not on my A game today. But yeah, the rise should be -8 because it's going down. So that's -8 and then +8. So that's okay. Doesn't change our answer too much. We don't get +5, we get -5. -5. Oh, you said -8. I'm sorry. I really didn't see the negative symbol. Okay. That's okay. We're almost there. Last step. Now I'm just going to add these values. Make sure you're adding them to the correct number. So -6 plus 5. In this case, since it's the same number for both of them, you're just doing 5. But one of them is +5 and the other one is -5. So we just want to make sure that we're doing the right value. So what do I get here? -5 plus 5. Where did I get the 5 from? Right here. So right now I'm adding the 5 and the -5 to their correct values. Okay, so I'm adding 5. What's the confusion? Oh, it's -6, not -5. I see what you mean. Sorry. Does that make more sense? Okay. All right, what's -6 plus 5? -1. Good. And now the y value. 5 plus negative 5, because it's negative, right? We got a negative number. So it's 5 minus 5, we get 0. So my point P is at negative 1 comma 0. There he is. All right, so second time doing it, how do we feel now? Any other questions? Any other wondering about where I got those numbers? It's really just a matter of doing it. We're gonna do it like a bunch of times so that you get used to the process, because once you have the process down, it's gonna be a lot easier to do it. That's why notice I'm using all these colors. I'm trying to keep things really, really neat so that we know where everything is coming from. Alrighty. All right, so here's another. I know it says try it on your own. Do you guys want to try it on your own, or would you rather do it together?
Together.
Okay.
I'd rather do it together.
All right, let's do it together. So let me just plot these points, 4, 2. Why do they give me these terrible graphs? How am I going to plot negative 6, negative 13? Ridiculous.
Watching videos.
Okay, but that's okay. Here's A. Negative 6, negative 13. Y'all, I cannot graph that on this graph, so I'm just going to put it over here. It's going to be somewhere out in that corner. And there's my line segment. All right. So first of all, the ratio is 3 to 2. What fraction is that? What's my fraction? Good. 3 out of 5. 3 out of the total, which is 5. Do I have any final questions on how to turn a ratio statement into a fraction? Okay, good. No questions on that? Now we got to find the rise and the run. Now, here's where we're going to be super incredibly careful, because I'm finding the rise and the run in a specific order. Am I going from A to B or from B to A? What does this problem tell me to do? Good, Tyrone. From A to B. From A to B. So to get from A to B, should I be going up or down?
Up. Yes, up. I am serious. Ha ha ha. Actually down. Ha. I got y'all.
Okay, down, down, and then to the left. So this is going to be negative and another negative. They're both going to be negative numbers. And that's going to be really important. So obviously I graphed this off of the grid, but remember B is negative 6, negative 13. So you can also use the numbers. What is my rise? What is my run? Negative 11. I think you went the wrong way, Perla. For the rise, it's not negative 11. Does anyone else think they got it? No? Because you got to get all the way down to negative 13. There you go. So we have negative 15 for the rise. Negative 15. What about the run? Good, negative 10. Okay. Questions on how we got negative 15 and negative 10? Okay. All right. Next up, we multiply it by the ratio. So times 3/5. What do I get? Good, negative 6 for the rise. What about the run? Or is that the run? That was the run, sorry. I wrote it down in the wrong place. So what's the rise? Negative 9. There you go. Cool. I've got my new rise, my new run. Which number am I adding the negative 9 to? Which value? The x value or the y? Good, the y value. And then this one gets added to the x value. So again, point A started at 4, 2. So for the x value, I'm doing 4 minus 6. Four minus 6, what do I get? Negative 2, good. And for the x value, for the y value, I mean, I'm doing 2 minus 9. Which gives me negative 7. Negative 7. So point P is at negative 2, negative 7. So point P ends up, clearly I drew this line in the wrong place because point P does not end up where, it doesn't look like it's on the line. That just means I drew my line wrong. The line is probably something more like this. And B is like way down under there. I just didn't have enough room for it. That's okay though. But does anybody have any questions on the process? It's kind of getting, more ingrained into our memory. The more and more you do it, the more and more it's going to just be memorized. So how do we feel now? A little bit better, a little bit smarter? Okay, I'll take that. All right. Well, how do we feel about doing this without a graph? I mean, you don't really need one in the end, right? We know how to find the rise and the run without a graph. We know that there's a formula. We know how to do all that math without a graph. So let's try it. Let's see how we do. So I know that we have point A and we have point B. And it's telling me to divide it 2/3. So do I need to convert that into a fraction or it's already a fraction? Yeah, it's already a fraction. So we're good. So we're just trying to figure out, okay, what is 2/3 of the distance? Oh, you know what? I'm going to keep the same colors that I've been using. So I'm going to make that yellow. Give me a second. 2/3. Okay, cool. Well, I still need to find my rise and I still need to find my run. It's just that I'm going to do it using math rather than using the graph. The rise is what, when you're doing the slope formula, what goes in the numerator? y2 minus y1, exactly. So I'm going to write down the slope formula so we remember it. y2 minus y1, that's your rise. x2 minus x1, that's your run. So all I really need to do is y2 minus y1. So what is that going to be for me? (11 minus 2, which gives me 9. That's my rise. What's my run? Same thing. This time I'm doing x2 minus x1. 6 minus 3, which is 3. What do I do now? I have my rise, I have my run. What's the next step? Good. Now I got to take each of those numbers, multiply them by our ratio, 2/3. What do I get? I get, for the rise, we get 6. So 9 times 2 is 18. 18 divided by 3 is 6. And then for the run, 3 times 2 is 6. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I have my new rise, my new run. What does the 6 get added to? Good, Janelle's, to the y value. 2 gets added to the x value. So we started at point A, 3, 2. Let's add the x values. So it's 3 plus 6. Oh, you're right, not 6. Plus 2. See, yeah, I make mistakes on this all the time. That's why we got to be super organized. So 3 plus 2. So my new x value is 5. And then for the y value, it's going to be 2 plus 6. So I get 8. So point P, or whatever point we decide to call it, is located at 5, 8. All right, how do we feel? You guys are getting better and better at it. I can already tell because your answers are coming in faster. So like I told you, it's not hard. It's like one of those things in math where like the numbers aren't really hard, but it's just a process. So we definitely just want to make sure we understand the process. Okay, so I want you guys to try this next one on your own. Okay, same idea, very, very similar. I'm going to do it right alongside you. And if you want to check your answers along the way, you can ask me in the chat. So go ahead and get started, try it out. Follow those 3 steps, 4 steps. About 1 minute and a half remaining. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's start looking at it. I haven't gotten too many responses in the chat, but I do want to make sure we get to most of the questions today. So I want to get going. Let's start off with let's start off with the ratio and getting the correct fraction. Because this ratio is 1 to 7. So what's the fraction? What's my fraction? Good, Janelle's 1/8. 1/8 of the distance. Okay. So now let's go ahead and get the rise, get the run, and go from there. What's my rise? What do I subtract in order to get my rise? Good, -1 minus 7. -1 minus 7 gives me good, -8. Any questions on how we did that? Okay, now my run. What numbers do I go for with my run? -12 minus -4. 12 minus -4, 16. Very good, Jalen. All right, cool. What do I do next? Got my rise, got my run. What do I do? Good, times 1/8. Times 1/8. All right, -8 times 1/8 is -1. 16 times 1/8 is 2. Don't forget, when you're multiplying by a fraction, you got to multiply by the numerator and then divide by the denominator. So up to this point, how do we feel up to here? Questions? If you don't know where a number came from, if you made a mistake at a certain point and you want to understand how to do it correctly, questions up to this point? Good. All right. My original A was -4, 7. Let's do the X value is -4. What am I adding to -4? Am I adding -1 or am I adding 2? Good, Janelle's +2. So what's my new x value? -4 plus 2 gives me -2, good. And now the y value, 7 minus 1, right? Because it's -1 up here, so I'm subtracting 1. So 7 minus 1 gives me, oops, gives me 6. All right, so there it is. There is my new coordinate point for point C is -2, comma 6. Questions, comments, concerns, how do we feel? We're going to do a couple more, but how do we feel at this point? Did anyone get lost along the way and they weren't sure what step would go next? Okay, how did I do the y? Okay, hold on. I have a lot. You feel fine. Good. Janelle's is asking, how did I do the y? Which part of it? So which part? The -1? Okay, since my answer was -1, since I got a negative number, I'm taking away that value. So technically what I'm doing is I'm adding this to the y value, So technically I'm doing 7 plus -1. But since that's a negative number, I can just write it as 7 minus 1. I'm just subtracting. So whatever answer you get, if it's a positive number, you're just adding it to the x or the y value. If it's a negative number, you're subtracting it from the x or y value. And I'll write that down here. Okay, it's like it's just one of those things. We're just gonna keep doing it until we get it right. All right, ready for another? Here we go. All right, so this one's multiple choice. So go ahead and same idea, try it on your own. In fact, I'll make it a poll. So whenever you get your answer, you can put it right into the poll and then we'll do it together. Okay, I'm seeing 3 answers in at this point. So those of you who have not put an answer in, you have about a minute. All right, 10, 9, 8, 30, no, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Cool. So we're actually stuck between 2 answer choices. So let me show you guys. C and D. C and D were the most popular. Let's take a look though, because only one of them is going to be correct. What's my rise? What is my rise? Good. Rise is -5. Run. Zero. Careful with the rise, you guys, because the rise was -3 minus 2. -3 minus 2, that's how we got -5. So if you got something different, then that probably would have led to an incorrect answer. So questions on that, on how I got my rise or how I got my run. Okay. Now, what am I multiplying these numbers by? What's my fraction? 2 out of 5, 2/5. Because again, the total is 5. So 2 to 3 becomes 2/5. So multiplying by 2/5 on both of these guys, what do I get for the rise? -5 times 2/5. -2. 0 times 2/5 is, of course, going to be 0. Okay, so now I've got -2. What am I adding that to? Good, to the y value, which is 2. So I started at 0, 2. Now I'm doing 0 plus 0. For the x value. So my x value is 0. And for the y value, I got to do 2 minus 2. 2 minus 2, which also gives me 0. So my final answer, 0, 0. Answer choice D. Now, a lot of people chose answer choice C, so let's talk about it. Why did we choose that answer? What went wrong if you chose 0, 1? Anyone? If you chose C, it means you made a mistake somewhere down the line. So let's talk about those mistakes because we got to learn from them. So what did we choose incorrectly? What math? Did any of this math give a wrong answer? No? So everybody understands 100%. If I gave you a quiz right now, you would get 100 on it? So why not? Let's talk about it. That's what we're trying to figure out. What went wrong? How do we fix it for next time? If you got something wrong and you don't know what you did, you should be asking me questions right now. Because otherwise, what's the point? There's no point if you're not asking questions. That's a good. I'm glad you're pointing that out, Jalen, and I appreciate you because that's something I definitely want to make sure we understand. Because rise over run, you end up doing the rise first and then the run. It's really easy to switch up your X's and your Y's, and you have to make sure that you are keeping track of those things. That's like the biggest mistake and the easiest mistake that we can make. So just make sure when you're doing that's why I've been color coding everything. If you noticed, pink, I've been using it for the Y values, and blue, I've been using it for the X values, just to keep everything super organized and super lined up. So that's something that a lot of times you're gonna make that little mistake. Anything else? Any other mathematical errors that we can fix now before they become an issue later? Okay. I'm gonna give you guys another one. We're gonna keep practicing it. Like I said, I have a ton of these. Actually, hold on. Pause. Not gonna do this one because that one I wanna do together. Yeah, here's another one. Very similar. They're all worded differently, so when you read a problem like this, just make sure you're understanding what it's asking. So in this case, no, sorry guys, I'm sorry. This is not the one either. So these two problems kind of make it a little bit more challenging, so we'll go back to those in a moment. Same with this one. Okay, here. These are good. So I just want you guys to just do number one. Just number one. If you finish number one, then by all means go ahead and do the rest, but just start with number one because again, we're just doing the same thing, same process over and over and over again. And any mistakes you made before, think about those and don't make those same mistakes again. Perla, you can send them privately. Go ahead and any answers you get, send them privately, and then I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. So again, when you send me your answer, when you're done, send me your answer, because then I can tell you what to do next. All right, I want to make sure we get to the final answer, so I got to stop here. But let's go ahead and look at number 1. What is my rise? What is my run? What is my rise? What is my run? Rise is 10. Run is 15. Pause there. If you got that wrong, let me know in the chat. If you don't know how to get those answers, let me know in the chat. Okay. Just making sure, guys, I'm giving you plenty of opportunities right now to ask me questions, and if you stay silent, that's on you. I'm giving you every chance you can get. What is my fraction going to be? Two over 5, good. 2/5. So now I'm multiplying. 10 times 2/5 and 15 times 2/5. What do I get for the rise? Get 4 for the rise, good. And for my run? Good, 6. Again, pausing there, any questions on how I got 4 or how I got 6? Oops, wrong color. Okay. Tyrone? You sure? Okay. So now in my final step, I need to add, so I originally, I start at D, it's 1 comma 4. So again, which number gets added to the 1? The 6. So this is my X value and my Y value. So I have to do 1 plus 6. So that gives me 7. And then for the Y value, we do 4 plus 4. So I get 8. So my final coordinate point is 7, 8. Okay. Something very important, guys, that a lot of people I want to make sure you're doing this correctly. When you calculate the rise, so when you do the rise and you have to do y2 minus y1, make sure you're doing whatever your second point. So if it's A and B, or like in this case, it was D and F, make sure you're doing the y value from B minus the y value from A. Or in this case, it was F minus D. Okay, like whatever your second point minus the first point, because otherwise you're going to get a negative number instead of a positive number, or vice versa, and then it's going to give you the wrong answer. So just make sure that that's what you're doing when you calculate the rise and the run. Because remember, that's why it's called a directed line segment, because it goes from A to B. Like that's the order that it goes in. It's not going backwards. It's going from A to B. All right, y'all. So it is 2:19. Class is pretty much over. What I'm going to do is the following. A couple people already did these 2 examples just now. So if you already did them and I told you got it right, then you're done. But everybody else, that is your homework. So make sure, take a picture right now of the screen. Take a screenshot, take a picture. Those 2 problems are your homework in your notebook. Send me a picture of your work and your answers. So send me a picture of what you get. All right, and submit it, on Remind, email, Google phone, whatever, whichever way you always message me, that's how I want you to do it. It'll be due Thursday at midnight. And I'll remind you again tomorrow. So Perla, you're good. You don't have to do it because you already got your answers. All right, y'all. That is it. Go ahead and have a nice day. I will see you all tomorrow. And yes, Rios, I'll post it on Teams. I'll do that. I got you. All right. Bye, everybody.